Week 34 has come and gone. August is nearly over. Can you believe it? I'm Jessie with an E, and welcome to my happy place. Good morning to you. It was hot and dry here for the last 10 to 11 days. I know that because I've had to come out and water my sprouts and seedlings 2 to 3 times a day, every day, because we weren't getting any rain. And last night it rained hard for at least 2 hours, possibly longer. Made sleeping even a little bit challenging. All right, so my garden is a pretty big mess. So I'm going to show you what it really looks like in there. And we can see what needs to be ripped out and what is starting to grow and what is going to be harvesting soon. In this bed, number 1 that runs this way here, wall bed 1, I had sunflowers and green beans. The storm took some sunflowers down. I am really sick of green beans. I've been canning so many, I don't need any more. So I've been clipping the plants out every few days and giving them to the chickens to eat. And this bed will be empty once I clean those out this week, and then we will start removing all of the compost and the filling from these beds and filling up ground beds that need some soil for the winter. And the reason we're doing that is because we're going to be taking these walls down and relaying them with mortar in the joints. The glue that they were designed to work with, I don't think works really well. I don't know. I'm not an engineer. My husband's the mason. We thought it would be prettier and we would do a little shortcut and build these walls with the glue and not mortar, because that's how they're designed to be. But I don't know if you can see down this straight line here, but that wall is actually leaning out. It's not able to handle the soil inside. So he's going to dig down and put a deeper, more firm footing on concrete. Sorry, I'm pushing away deer fly. So these walls will stay upright, but we can't do it all in one winter. So we're just going to do 1/4 of the garden border at a time. So since the wall is split up by 4 gates, we're going to do this section first, from this gate all the way around to the other gate. So as these beds get harvested out, I'm not planting anything new in them because we're going to be digging out all that compost, taking these walls down, putting in a real footer, and reconstructing the walls with mortar. Costly, time-consuming, and not fun it will be. We tried to game plan several different ways to attack this problem, and other than moving, taking it down and rebuilding the walls one section at a time is the only path that we can see. We do consider it another lesson in doing the work the right way the first time, even if it costs more. But God is patient and He leads us at the pace we can handle. And some things you just don't know until you try them. All right, we'll go around this way first. So I've taken the tomatoes out of a lot of beds. So what's left here is basil. It's tomatoes here. You can see the disease is taken over the bottom, but up top it's still green and it's still growing tomatoes. Basil and more tomatoes still. This bed was empty the last time we walked through the garden. I think this corn is about ready. We'll get that down this week. Enjoy eating that. Golden Jubilee tomatoes. And over here, all those tomatoes are ripped out. Those are my broccoli starts and some parsley. I didn't plant anything at the end of this bed. Not since spring. The kale was here in the spring. These potatoes have started coming up from the spring potatoes. You always forget a few in the dirt, so I'm going to let them grow and see when I can get this before frost comes. We won't be doing these beds before cold anyway, so I can leave the dirt in that section. That's fine. Some more green beans that I was specifically letting grow to save for seed. And cayenne. I have lots of peppers in there that look ready. It is Sunday morning, so I did not come out here yesterday on Sabbath. So this is where the cucumbers were. We've taken all that out, and we will start removing soil from this bed and filling in any of the ground beds that need it. And this bed we have already dug out. And moved soil. Still have a few cherry tomatoes on here, but this whole row can just be ripped out now. It's not worth saving. This trellis did have cucumbers before. I think I've clipped them all. They're all gone, but the vegetable squash or spaghetti squash has decided to use the trellis. I had no idea that such a big squash could hang up there like that. So I'm assuming it will survive. It's got a very thick vine on it. This is the nicest squash I've ever had. I'm sure I know there are squash bugs in there. I've seen their eggs, but they're not doing too much damage to the plants yet. I'm going to get a lot of fruit from them. Roma tomatoes, I'm just about ready to take them out. They have produced so much for me. I have so many cans of tomato sauce. And the pumpkins are growing out of their bed and onto the trellis or the cages for the Roma tomatoes. So some of those might stay. Got some little pumpkins hanging in the air here. This is one cherry tomato plant that volunteered and popped up. I let it grow. It's pretty hard to pick tomatoes from a tomato plant when you let it vine across the ground, because you get to where you can't really reach where the tomatoes are all the time. So I might clip this back some, but I'm just going to see how it does. It'd be nice to have a few more cherry tomatoes before fall. And this is the pumpkin patch. This little first one I have a picture of from a couple weeks ago. He's already turning orange. And he's kind of taken over the strawberry bed too a little bit. This is our third batch of corn. But it's been so dry the last week and a half, I don't know how much that's going to affect the harvest. The ears are still growing pretty big. And then underneath is that vegetable squash. There were two plants here, vegetable squash. And they have taken over. You can see they've gone down here and all over that trellis. Now, in this bed, I never put anything else in the ground here, just the pimento peppers, and they are coming along nicely. I have picked one pepper from here, and it was not a pimento pepper. It was a yellow bell pepper. So that bugs me that I have one less pimento pepper plant, but we'll enjoy those peppers as well. My eternal kale, I chopped it up a lot. It was being eaten by a pest, so hopefully I got rid of that. But the kale's coming back again. This tomato plant is about gone, but it's given me a lot of really good beef steaks. More of the pimento peppers. They won't ripen for a bit longer still. And those tomato plants are about gone. More green bean plants that will likely go to the chickens. We might pick some and eat them fresh, but I'm not canning anymore this summer. And all down this wall is the butternut squash. And again, it is just loaded. So this year we are going to learn to like squash. We already know we like vegetable squash, but I'm going to learn lots of yummy ways to make it appetizing since we're growing so much. And it is nice to have this much squash, considering we're not going to have any sweet potatoes this year, because that did not grow very well. The tomatoes on this row were all planted 2 to 3 weeks later than the ones on this side over here. Disease is still catching up. One of them was a volunteer plant at the very end. Oh, I lost some green tomatoes there on the ground. And I threw in some cauliflower seeds here this past week. So this is one section I've been watering. There's a bunch of babies coming up. And this is where I transplanted some cauliflower, and it was probably too hot when I did it, so they didn't take really well. So I put more cauliflower seeds next to the transplants. So there's a bundle, there's a bundle. We'll see how well those do. And I can cover them if it gets too cold too soon this fall. We've picked most of the pinto beans off of these trellises. Those plants need to come out this week. I need to weed the ground, refill with soil, and I think that's going to be our garlic bed this coming winter. We do grow a year's worth of garlic for ourselves. This plant is still nice and healthy. This one, not so much. This cherry tomato plant is almost finished giving us its fruit. And this was the volunteer. It turned out to be, I forget the name because it was one I grew last year or the year before, but it's like a pink brandywine or beefsteak kind of looking tomato. Those are the bok choy seed. No, not bok choy. Brussels sprout seedlings that I've started. Some dahlias at the end. This is my sole surviving sweet potato plant. So as long as I get a few, I can save them this winter to plant next year. This is the other side of the butternut squash row. I transplanted a few of the Brussels sprouts here. But this bed begins where you saw all my spinach planting last week. Of course, this bed right here is carrots, but spinach and bok choy going up. They're coming up well. Any spots that are bare, I will plant with any places that have too many spinach, so I'll just transplant them. And this spinach should go all winter. I might do another batch in another week or two. There's carrots. There's another variety of spinach. And the bok choy knew the assignment. Look at that. Now these were seeds that I saved from my bok choy last year. Plenty of bok choy coming up. There's some red peppers down there at that end. Some orange peppers here. And I didn't want to take those pepper plants out yet. And this bed was really low, so the soil's kind of mounded in the middle and it goes downhill to the plants down there. So once all that's ripped out, once those are ripped out, I'll fill the bed up the rest of the way. And this is more vegetable squash or spaghetti squash, also known as. Nothing on this bed right now other than the carrots at the end. A little bit of weeds to pull in there. Strawberries, kale. I'll be transplanting some of that this week to other spots and spreading it around because it's going to finally be cool this week. Yesterday may have been our last 90-degree day. So this is what it looks like in August. Lots of dying stuff. Zinnias are always pretty though. It's prettier to look at than dying plants. How huge these are. Like, that's my hand. That is a huge squash. Never had this much nice squash before. Usually the bugs kill them completely. So lots more cleanup this week. Just getting plants out and refilling beds with compost. Some for stuff to plant in for the fall and some to just have ready for spring. Plus we have all the dirt to take out of these walls anyway. So we're just going to use those to fill up other beds. And then once this wall is rebuilt, we'll do the same thing we did when we constructed it. We will put wood chips in the bottom and then compost probably the top 12 inches. And that will sink for several years as the wood chips decompose, but it is such a wonderful worm habitat. The earthworms absolutely love it. And I don't know that we have seen any squash over here yet. This is supposed to be some big, huge white squash. And I just don't see any in here yet. But it's made its way all the way down the side of that bed. This is coming out by the greenhouse. We'll see. So I am very thankful for the poor man's rain we got last night. My husband can still go to work today because it's not raining during the day. And all the garden got watered. It needed it so bad. Some of the zoysia grass in the yard over here, where the soil isn't as good, was starting to turn brown. It was getting so dry. So I'm very grateful for the rain. I don't have to water seedlings today. We're going to have cool weather at least the beginning of this week, and maybe more rain. I look forward to getting there and cleaning stuff out and feeding the chickens. And it's going to be nice temperatures to work in. Thanks for checking out the garden with me this week and seeing how it's growing. I hope you take some time this week to slow down and take a breather. Assess your goals for this one short life and reconsider the invitation to accept your Creator as Lord if you haven't already. And if you have surrendered your life to Jesus, then get out there and live joyfully for Him.